Hello, everyone. I'm Martina, and today we're diving into one of the most haunting, unsolved disappearances in American history. More than 2 decades have passed since a young nursing student vanished on a cold winter night in New Hampshire. Yet investigators, journalists, true crime experts, and her family are still searching for answers. It's a case filled with strange decisions, conflicting theories, missing clues, and unanswered questions that continue to baffle everyone who studies it. The story begins with Maura Murray, a 21-year-old nursing student at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. By all accounts, Maura was intelligent, athletic, and ambitious. She had excelled academically and had previously attended the prestigious United States Military Academy at West Point before transferring to UMass. Friends described her as private but determined, someone who often handled problems on her own rather than discussing them openly. In the days leading up to her disappearance, however, several unusual events occurred that investigators would later scrutinize intensely. On the evening of February 5th, 2004, Maura was working at her campus security job when something happened that left her visibly upset. According to reports, a supervisor found her in an emotional state. When asked what was wrong, she allegedly became quiet and was escorted back to her dorm room. The exact reason for her distress has never been fully explained. Just 2 days later, another incident added to the mystery. During the early hours of February 8th, Maura crashed her father's vehicle into a guardrail after attending a gathering. Fortunately, she was not seriously injured, but the accident raised questions about what was happening in her life at the time. Her father later said they had planned to shop for a new car that weekend, and the crash seemed to be an unfortunate mistake rather than something more serious. Then came February 9th, 2004. This is the day that would change everything. Earlier that day, Maura searched online for directions to locations in northern New England. She also looked up accommodations in New Hampshire and Vermont. She emailed professors claiming there had been a death in her family and that she would be away from school for several days. Investigators later determined that no such death had occurred. She packed some personal belongings, withdrew most of the money from her bank account, purchased alcohol from a liquor store, and left campus in her black Saturn sedan. What happened next remains one of the greatest mysteries in modern true crime. At approximately 7:27 p.m., a resident living along Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire, heard a loud crash outside. Maura's vehicle had apparently gone off the road and struck a snowbank. Several witnesses observed the aftermath. One nearby resident, a school bus driver returning home, stopped to check on the driver. According to his account, Maura appeared shaken but conscious. He offered to call the police, but she reportedly declined and insisted she had already contacted roadside assistance. The problem? Cell phone records suggest there was little or no service in the area. The bus driver returned home and contacted authorities anyway. Within minutes, police were dispatched. Here's where the mystery takes a chilling turn. When officers arrived on the scene, Maura was gone. Her car remained. The alcohol was still present. Personal belongings were inside. But Maura herself had vanished. The window of time was incredibly small. Witness estimates suggest only about 7 to 10 minutes passed between the last confirmed sighting and the arrival of law enforcement. Somehow, within those few minutes, she disappeared into the cold February night. A search began almost immediately. Officers examined the area around the crash site. Search dogs were brought in. Helicopters scanned the surrounding woods. Volunteers combed nearby roads and fields. Yet despite extensive efforts, no trace of Maura was found. The lack of evidence became one of the most perplexing aspects of the case. Normally, if someone wandered into snowy wilderness conditions, investigators might expect to find footprints, clothing, personal items, or eventually remains. But nothing definitive emerged. This absence of evidence fueled endless speculation. One theory suggests that Maura voluntarily left the crash scene and encountered foul play. Supporters of this theory believe she may have accepted a ride from a passing motorist. If that happened, she could have crossed paths with someone dangerous. The scenario is plausible. She may have feared getting into trouble over the accident. She may have wanted to avoid police contact. She may have been trying to reach another location quickly. Accepting a ride from a stranger could have seemed like a practical solution in the moment. If foul play occurred afterward, it could explain why no trace of her was ever found. Another theory focuses on the surrounding wilderness. Northern New Hampshire can be unforgiving during winter. Temperatures often drop dramatically after sunset. Snow-covered forests stretch for miles in every direction. Some investigators believe Maura may have left the roadway, entered the woods, and succumbed to exposure. However, this theory faces challenges. Search teams found no obvious tracks leading away from the road. Extensive searches failed to uncover evidence supporting this explanation. While not impossible, many experts remain uncertain that exposure alone explains the disappearance. Then there are theories suggesting Maura intentionally vanished. These ideas often stem from her unusual actions before leaving campus. Why did she search for directions? Why did she withdraw money? Why did she tell professors there had been a death in the family? Why did she leave so suddenly? Some speculate she wanted to escape stress, personal problems, or challenges occurring in her life. Supporters of this theory believe the crash may have disrupted a larger plan. Yet intentionally starting a new life presents enormous difficulties. Maintaining a false identity for decades would require extraordinary preparation, resources, and luck. Moreover, no verified sightings have ever confirmed that Maura survived beyond that night. Another aspect of the case that continues generating discussion involves her emotional state before the disappearance. Friends, family members, and investigators have debated whether she was experiencing significant personal stress. Like many college students, she faced academic responsibilities, relationship issues, financial concerns, and future uncertainties. Some observers believe these pressures may provide important context. Others caution against overinterpreting limited information. The challenge is that many details remain ambiguous. Without knowing Maura's exact intentions, every clue becomes open to interpretation. Over the years, the case has attracted extraordinary public attention. Podcasts, documentaries, books, online forums, and investigative series have examined virtually every detail. Thousands of amateur investigators have attempted to solve the mystery. Maps have been analyzed, timelines reconstructed, witness statements scrutinized, potential suspects investigated. Yet despite countless hours of research, no consensus has emerged. Part of what makes this case so compelling is the narrow window during which Maura disappeared. Most missing person investigations involve hours or even days of uncertainty. In this case, investigators can narrow events down to just a few minutes. She was seen after the crash. Police arrived shortly afterward. Between those moments, something happened. The question is what? That small gap in time has become one of the most analyzed periods in true crime history. Every possibility seems to create new questions. If she accepted a ride, who picked her up? If she entered the woods, why was no evidence found? If foul play occurred, where did it happen? If she planned to disappear, how did she accomplish it without leaving a trace? Each answer seems to create another mystery. As years turned into decades, the emotional toll on Maura's family became increasingly apparent. For families of missing persons, uncertainty can be uniquely painful. Without answers, there is no closure. Without closure, hope and grief often exist side by side. Loved ones continue searching, continue advocating, and continue hoping that someone, somewhere, possesses information capable of solving the mystery. Investigators have never officially closed the case. Tips continue arriving, evidence continues being reviewed. New technologies periodically provide opportunities to re-examine old information. Despite the passage of time, authorities still consider the disappearance an active investigation. One reason the case remains so fascinating is that it reflects a universal fear. Many mysteries involve events that feel distant from everyday life. This one feels different. A young woman drives away from campus. She has plans, she has belongings, she has a future. Then, after a minor roadside accident, she simply vanishes. No dramatic confrontation, no confirmed abduction, no definitive evidence, just a person who seems to disappear from the world. That possibility is deeply unsettling. Perhaps that's why the case continues capturing public attention. It challenges assumptions about how investigations work. It reminds us that even in an age of technology, surveillance, and communication, people can still disappear under circumstances that defy explanation. More than 20 years later, investigators remain confronted by the same central question. What happened to Maura Murray after she stepped away from her crashed car on that cold February night? Was she the victim of a crime? Did she become lost in the wilderness? Did she leave voluntarily? Or is the truth something no one has yet imagined? For now, the answers remain hidden. The road where her vehicle was found still exists. The surrounding forests remain quiet. The timeline remains incomplete. And one of America's most disturbing missing person cases remains unsolved. Until definitive evidence emerges, the disappearance of Maura Murray will continue to stand as one of the most baffling mysteries in modern criminal history. A case that has resisted explanation for more than 2 decades and continues to leave investigators searching for the truth. I'm Martina. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy true crime mysteries, unsolved disappearances, and fascinating real-life investigations, be sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments, what theory do you find most convincing in the Maura Murray case? I'll see you in the next video.